We are Strengthenx and we are doing a strength series. Today we are covering mental psychology and programming. But what are our credentials?
Well, I'm strong as fuck, so just watch the goddamn video. So, we're going to go over 6 points today.
6 points.
6 whole points. And these are all adhered to just basically getting the best possible conditioning, programming, and psychology we can possibly give you so you can be the strongest ass motherfucker in the world. So, let's get on with it, shall we?
Do it.
Bing.
Boo. Boo. Number 1, you gotta be patient. So, short and sweet, if you've chosen a strength program, for example, 5x5, you need to give that at least 16 weeks to have an effect. So just jump in from plan to plan when someone goes, oh, try this, try that. Just stick to what you have chosen for at least 16 weeks, give it a chance to work. If after that 16-week period you're not seeing any progress, then by all means look at researching another program.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on YouTube, you'll see loads of different people saying this is the best program, that's the best program. Actually, we would say the best program is the one you actually stick to. And usually the parameters of a program is, they're not always linear. So just because you're not progressing at it straight away, if you see like a bit of a dip in form, so progression essentially isn't linear, it works in waves. Sometimes you might have weaker days depending on your kind of variables of impact of lifestyle. So what kind of like impact, we'll go over that in number 3. But yes, essentially stick to your program. It's as short and simple as that, isn't it, mate?
Indeed.
Number 2. Okay, so we talked about being patient. Now we're going to go the opposite of that. It's all about being impatient. Now, impatient doesn't mean just keep adding weight to the bar, just hoping for the best. Being impatient is about being relentless with a goal and setting yourself a goal that's actually higher than your current realistic goal is. So let's say you're a beginner, and not you, but someone's a beginner, and you're able to lift 100 kilos for one rep max. Now, someone would say a realistic goal is, like, I want you to aim for 110 or 120 within 5 to 6 weeks. Great, you can get that. However, what I would say is aim for 140. I know that sounds maybe slightly unrealistic, but it's not completely unachievable either. And let's face it, even if you be relentless with that goal, you stick to the right form, you do everything perfectly, and you don't hit that 140, and let's say you hit at 130, you've already hit 10 or 20 kilos above your current realistic goal. So sometimes being slightly impatient can actually make you better than most people. So that's the best way to be impatient.
Do it. Number 3 is work on all areas of your goal. Don't just think, right, I want to get this much weight lifted, so that's all I'm going to do is just lift. You need to look at all aspects of your lifestyle. So nutrition, active recovery is a huge one. So getting enough sleep, seeing a physio if you need to, and then also working on technical form and mechanical movements of things. So again, if deadlift is your goal, you want to get that 140 in 6 to 8 weeks. If you're sort of plateaued at a certain weight and you just can't lift heavier than that, the worst thing you can do is then just start adding more and more weight, trying to get stronger. The best thing you can probably do is take a few steps back and work on the form of that movement. So it's probably the form that's stopping you lift rather than the actual strength ability.
Yeah, it's recognizing your weaknesses. Yeah. And in the next episode, which we're actually going to go in, it's going to be a deadlifting one, but it kind of works on the same parameters as everything's strength. What we're going to go over is how to develop weaknesses. So if you don't know how to develop your weaknesses,
or spot your weaknesses,
we're going to go over that next week on variability of how to develop your weaknesses. Number 4
is, you've probably heard this a lot of times, is that mind-muscle connection, and it gets thrown around a lot and it gets sort of badly used, to be fair. So what I mean by this is thinking about the movement you're doing and thinking about the muscles that you're contracting while you're doing that movement. So, for example, again, we use deadlift as an example. People just think, oh, it's just lifting weight up. They're getting the lower back involved. Also, you need to think about your lats, so they contract in, your glutes, your hamstrings, all these muscles that should be working. You need to be thinking about those and getting into that mind-muscle connection. So that is basically just thinking about the movement you're doing, not just lifting the weight for the sake of lifting the weight.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you kind of like can't get, or you don't understand what the right movement is, what should be the next thing you should do?
So either record yourself.
Yes.
So film yourself doing a deadlift, doing a bench press, squats, whatever, and looking at your form and trying to pinpoint where you're going wrong or how you can improve, what you're not contracting, or consult a specialist.
Yeah, so a specialist being an actual strength trainer, not just a random PT.
Yes.
Someone like myself, strength trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I pointed at a bicep because that's not really strength, but don't hire me. Hire someone else.
Good start.
Hire someone else. No, seriously. Hire someone who's a strength coach and actually kind of has the credentials. Try and like do a bit of fact checking, a bit of background checking to make sure that that's the right coach for you. Don't just get a willy-nilly person who can say they can do this for you when they clearly can't.
Yes.
Number 5. This is flow state and mental psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to go over is how to actually approach the lift when you're going for instance, like a 1 rep max. What a lot of people do, they get it in their head about they have to think about the movement, which is actually part of the point which we went to number 4. When you go for 1 rep max, you have to build up the weight, thinking about the mechanics, thinking about the movements, what muscles you need to contract. And then when actually you go and perform your 1 rep max, you actually have to forget everything you've just done and let your body take over. It has to become almost like a flow state. What a lot of people do when they go for a 1 rep max, they overthink it, they become insecure, they start to think how it's going to feel on their body, how it's going to hurt their back potentially if they're doing, for instance, a deadlift, and they almost talk themselves out of it and they've already lost the weight before they've even lifted it.
Yeah.
But what I would mention to do before you go and actually lift the weight on your 1 rep max is visualize lifting the weight. So visualize how it's going to feel on the body, visualize how you're going to contract the muscles, visualize how it's going to feel on the bar. Before you lift that weight, you've already lifted it. So in your mind, you've already lifted that 1 rep max. You've already succeeded in your head. So you've already just gone to the bar and do it. So when you walk up to the bar, you then clear your mind. Take a deep breath if you need to. Get into that flow state and take over. Mental psychology. So one way of kind of explaining this in a format some people understand, we're going to use a golf analogy. So not many of you play golf, but I'm sure you'll understand this analogy. If you're teeing off, you see the fairway, you see the green, you see the hole. You essentially, if you train well trained enough, you hit that ball numerous times, so you've got a good form, you will essentially hit it down the line. It should go near the hole. If, however, someone mentions to you that you see some water at the side, you're like, oh, watch out for the water, or watch out for that bunker over there. You might overthink the movement. You might start to think, oh, what if it actually does go in the water? What if it starts to go in the bunker? And before you know it, your body stiffens up, and before you know it, it's in the water. And that's just because you consciously start thinking about it rather than let your body just do the movement. So when it comes to competition time or when you're doing a 1 rep max, you want to just get into a flow state, forget about everything and just let your body take over.
So a good point on that is that it's not always the day to do a 1 rep max. Sometimes you think, okay, on the schedule it's 1 rep max day, but if you're not in that mental state and you're not feeling it, then
do it next week. Yeah, if you've got ailments and your body's kind of not performing well, or you can feel a niggle coming in or something like that, don't perform it just because it's on the program. Perform it when you feel that you're most optimal. Number 6.
Number 6 is my favourite, which is sack of excuses. They're not needed. Get rid of them.
Go.
Going back to the whole insecurity side of things, the first point on this I want to point out is anyone can do anything. So if you're on day 1 or day 7,000, it doesn't matter. So everyone has the ability to do everything. They're just further on or further behind in their journey.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk into a gym, you see someone doing flags, levers, handstands, 280 kilo deadlift, and you think, oh, I'd never be able to do that. Right now, yes. But further down your journey, yes, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. So the first thing is just don't have that mindset where you'll never be able to do something. You just need to work on that goal. So that's the first one we need to talk about.
Yeah, focus on you and your goals individually. Yes. If there is an individual in the gym, like Luke said, you've looked at them and they look like they can do so much more than you. Even if they've been training the same amount of time, let's say you've been training for 2 years, you can use excuses like, oh, they're better genetically gifted than I am, which might not actually be the case. And even if it is the case, what's the excuse? If they are, they are. You've got to find ways of improving so you can get above them. And you would say, how would you lift better than someone who's genetically more gifted than I am? Well, actually, that comes into variabilities. And point number 3, where we talk about nutrition, sleep. You get the advantage in recovery, you get the advantage to learn the best programming. You find a way to beat someone. I mean, if you've already convinced yourself someone's better than you, they'll always be better than you, no matter how genetically gifted you are compared to them or not. So even if you're more genetically advanced than they are, it doesn't matter, because if you've got the wrong mindset towards it, you're always going to be behind them. So that's kind of like the point, is to go away. You've got to kind of express yourself in a way that's going to work for you.
Express yourself. Sorry, I can resist one. And we also point out that if there is someone in the gym or anywhere that you feel is better than you, speak to them, get insight. That's a resource that you haven't tapped yet. So speak to them, find out what they've done to get to the level they're at, and use that person rather than just scowling at them across the gym and hating on them. Go and speak to them. I'm sure they'll be happy to give you some insight. And if they're not happy to give you insight, they're probably dickheads, so it's not even worth speaking to them.
Yes.
So just forget about it. But yeah, just you be you, and just do what you want to do, and have your own goals, and not have tunnel vision on your own goals. Don't worry about other people and what they're doing.
Yeah, if they are, they're able to lift more than you, and let's say they do a completely different program, it doesn't mean do a different program, but you could adapt your program slightly differently to kind of adhere to what they've told you, maybe improve form slightly, or maybe it's just something they do that's slightly different from in terms of recovery. You get an insight to what they do, so you can understand their program better, and you can understand your program better, and you can adapt slightly. There's no such issue as slightly adapting programming, but completely changing it because someone does something different doesn't actually mean that you're going to get better progress. It might work better for them and not better for you. So if you want to adapt something and it doesn't work, get rid of it.
Exactly. That's our 6 points for there, guys. So review them, have a look, and try and adapt them to your training methods. We both have an unrealistic or impatient goal.
Yes.
My personal one is I want to get to 180 deadlift. So my impatient goal is going to be 200. So my target is 200 kilo deadlift, 1 rep max by the end of the year.
Nice.
So that's mine.
Mine is a very unrealistic goal. I've already hit a lot of my strength goals. I've kind of moved out of that phase. I want to hit a world record. And as unrealistic as it sounds, there is a world record over a 24-hour period of 7,600 pull-ups. And as unrealistic as it sounds, I'm going to be relentless with this one. And even if I fail, I'm going to succeed more than I would have ever done or hoped to succeed if I had not gone for it in the first place. Even if I hit 4,000, it's more than 99.9% of the population can ever do.
Yeah.
So let's face it, I've succeeded anyway. So what are your goals? What are your unrealistic goals? Think about it. Have a true think about it, and then pop it in the comments below. And then I want you to be accountable. I want you to come back to our videos in a couple of months' time, pop those comments in, or even pop videos into us over on our Instagram page.
Yeah, stop saying pop.
Pop.
Pop, 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 pop.
I'm very English.
Very English. Pop over, darling.
Pop over.
Yes, so if you haven't got us on Instagram, get us on Instagram,
yes,
because we are going to be accountable for our goals. So
yes,
you're going to see progress on there, in our stories, in our posts, on how we're getting on. Even if we're not achieving them, we're going to be accountable, so we're going to let you know. So we want you to tag us in your post, you be accountable for your goals, and we'll grow together. And
if you want to type in hashtag Grow Strengthenx Goals, and put that in there, and we'll see who can get the best unachievable, unrealistic goal.
Yeah, who can achieve the unachievable.
Exactly. Right, I think that's about the end of the video, guys.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that.
Yes, go be strong.
Yes, do it now.
Cheers.
Cheers.